by my ex, and I can't see anything because I broke my glasses.
Who's this?
Are you 911?
No.
Could you video call me and guide me to somewhere safe?
I don't think I'm the person to do this.
My ex is going to kill me. I need you to be my eyes for me.
Okay, let's go.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Congratulations on the movie. It's fantastic. I loved it a bit. Had a lot of fun with it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm glad you appreciate it. So listen, I mean, without making you wanting to make you feel old or anything like that, I mean, you've been in the business for about 20 years or so, the better part of 20 years now, doing short films, episodes of series and things like that. What was it about this script or this film or who or what was it that pulled you into this and made you decide it was your time to take on a feature film this time around?
Yeah, I definitely have been around for a while. I've been around.
I didn't mean anything by it.
No, it's a good thing. I think, I collected a lot of experiences, and I think, all of them allowed me to hone my voice and, kind of realize what I want to say as a director, what my style is. And I think all those experiences only prepared me to make Unseen, because Unseen was one where, I think it's a movie where it's a fun thrill ride, but it could have been tedious to watch two people, talk over a phone for, a whole entire movie. So I do think all my past experiences of, making music videos and testing my, style on short films allowed me to be ready to infuse this movie with, with the color and with the vibrancy and with the, cinematic aesthetic that would make watching two people talk over the phone like an interesting, fun, entertaining experience.
I mean, you say that you infused a lot of yourself in there. I mean, just looking at you, the hair, the color of your hair, and the plants in the background gives me a very Unseen feel of the wood in the background and kind of the color of the gas station. I mean, I'm guessing all of that was you, no?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. The writers are really great. Again, they had a solid structure for the plot, for the drive, and they were so great at writing what comes next, what comes this, what happens after this. They're so good at building crisis after crisis. And so I think what I infused was really the gas station set was was supposed to be a dingy gas station in Florida, but I was the one who was let's make it neon green and let's make it neon pink and let's make it a crazy Americana, kitschy roadside attraction. So I definitely wanted to infuse a lot of visual stimulation to make the movie more fun.
When you mentioned that the films where people are just kind of talking to each other all the way through could become kind of tedious. I don't know if you thought about this, but in a way, it felt to me almost a little bit. It reminded me a little bit of Die Hard with John McClane on the walkie-talkie speaking to the owl in the police car. It felt very much like that was it really, and that kind of really pulled me in. How did you approach it? These talky bits to make it not feel so tedious and not get tedious, if you will.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, again, these two separate worlds, even though they have very different things going on, were cinematically intertwined. And that when they were, just doing the talking, we were saying a lot about what was happening between the characters with the camera. So, the scene where they're kind of getting to know each other and Emily's trying to keep Sam on the line by being to talk about their childhoods and talk a little bit about, their backgrounds a little bit more, instead of just, again, seeing them talk and, cutting back and forth between one of them both having singles or something. I was let's make sure that let's do a Steadicam shot that follows both of them. And then once they start connecting in a conversation, instead of being on frontals, let's simultaneously on both sides come to profiles. So they're facing each other and talking like they're in a conversation. We really wanted to make sure that, again, the visual language was talking a lot about the subtext and, of whether it's tension or whether it's developing friendship, that the camera was always doing something interesting to support what's happening emotionally.
Mm-hmm. I know for you, it was very important in the script was the friendship between these two very disparate characters. No, how did you create that kind of chemistry, knowing that going in that these two were not actually going to be physically most of the time on screen together? And how much of it is actually shot using kind of FaceTime or anything like that? Is any of it at all shot using actual face-to-face FaceTime?
So we talked about shooting like that way with actually using FaceTime, but then we realized, oh my God, we're like in the forests of Louisiana. Like we cannot rely on these phones to actually work. And like there might be delays and we might just be like, that might actually go against being able to connect them emotionally by having technical issues on set. So we were just like, you know what, we're gonna go old school. We're gonna have, Jolene, off camera when Midori's on camera, and Midori's off camera when Jolene. So we kind of shot it like a traditional, any scene, except that we just didn't happen to do the other person's coverage that day. We did the other person's coverage, weeks later. So yeah, both of the actors were very generous to be like, even that when they're not on camera, they came to New Orleans and they stayed in New Orleans and like was there for each other to finish each other's side of the story. So yeah, it really was like, Jolene kind of like huddled in the back of a bush, like yelling her lines, like, behind the camera crew and stuff, while Midori was like running through the brushes.
Uh-huh. And how much of it was scripted? Because it feels very natural. Was it all very scripted, or did you kind of give them a bit of leeway to play around a bit with their lines?
It was pretty scripted. If we had anything that we wanted to adjust on set, like we definitely had room, and like if they had suggestions of how things are phrased, we definitely played around with it. But actual improv was, I would say Missy Pyle was kind of the improv queen,
Right.
and especially for her comedic role, I definitely was like, go for it. Like let us have, whatever instincts you have as far as your insult comedy that's coming out of your mouth.
Uh-huh. And I think I don't know if it was something that was intended right from the word go, but I know that you're originally from Japan, and your two leading ladies are also from. They have origins from Japan as well. Was that something that was in the script from the beginning, or was that something you wanted to kind of infuse to be able to bring your ethnicity in the film as well?
Yeah, it wasn't in the script in the beginning. The women were, there was no ethnicity descripted for them. So it really could have been played by anybody. And for me, even I came in, not specifically, I didn't make them Japanese American specifically. It was actually kind of like a amazing, like wonderful, miraculous coincidence that they happened to become Japanese American. I definitely went in originally to be like, I want specifically Emily to be Asian American. Because again, she's an ER doctor. I really want to represent Asian Americans in the medical field, like they're so prevalent there. So we're looking at Asian American actresses for the Emily role, but even for specifically Sam, like we really looked at everybody. We looked at all kinds of people, amazing people. But Jolene was somebody that I had kind of like had my eye on from the very beginning because I loved her in White Lotus, and I just thought she would bring such a charm and such vulnerability to the role. So I kind of had my eye on her from very early on, and with her too, like I actually didn't know she was Japanese American until a little bit later. So it was really just like these two were perfect for the role, and I got lucky that they were, they shared a background with me.
Uh-huh. And then obviously I had it's a really funny, I mean, obviously it's a tense film, but at the same time there's plenty of levity and comedy in there. How difficult was it to balance that? Because obviously there's a lot of people say you can't mix horror thriller with comedy. It doesn't. But I think it works, and it needs levity in there. How was it? How easy was it to find that right balance for this film?
I'm so glad you think it works. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Like that really, it feels like an accomplishment to me, because we were aware from the very beginning that like it could feel like two different films being like shoved together into one, especially because Midori is experiencing so much like, violence and terror on her side. And Jolene, at least in the beginning of the film, is, it is more comedic, and like the tension she's experiencing is much less like life threatening. So for us, it was really just like, again, making sure that the two sides of the movies felt like one in aesthetic and in like the culmination with like the split screens. And, I wanted to make sure to connect the two worlds with, Jolene's in Midori's in like a real forest, like sort of surrounded by, green, real trees. But then in Jolene's side, we had forest on her side as well, but it's plastic and it's fake. So in different aesthetic ways, I made sure I want to connect the two worlds no matter what. But I think with the tonal challenge, it really was like, okay, let's even on Jolene's side, even though the villains can be quite over the top and comedic, let's never undermine the threat they actually pose to her. Like, let's actually be scared of these people with the guns. Let's not think that they're goofy just because they are a little ridiculous. Like, let's really make sure we feel their threat and the harm they could pose to her. So always just taking it seriously, even if they were sort of funny. And I think just introducing both of their sides of the movie at the very beginning of the movie, and like intercutting at the very top to make sure the audience knows that both of these exist, coexist in this movie, I think was important to make sure that, it didn't feel like we were like, changing it up later on you guys.
Yeah. Well, listen, just to finish off then, giving me the wrap. Just to finish off then, obviously I said at the beginning that you've been around for a while and this is your first feature. I'm hoping that you've got something planned that's not going to be another 20 years in the making, no? What can you tell us about what's coming next?
I hope so. I hope so too, man. I'm still in love with the horror genre, the thriller genre. I have a few different scripts that I'm attached to and I'm also writing right now. But I would actually love to make like either a survival horror film next, or that's kind of in the fashion world, or a body horror film. So those two are the kind of the lanes that I really want to make, because no matter what I do, I want to combine like grit and glamour. So like beautiful people in beautiful gowns, covered in blood kind of thing. So that's the world I'm pursuing next. Thank you. Brilliant. Yeah. So hopefully it's soon.
Well, listen, thank you so much for your time, Yoko. But all the best of luck with the film when it comes out. I'm sure it's going to go down really, really well. And I hope to speak to you again sometime soon about one of these projects you've got in the pipeline.
I hope so too. Thank you so much.
All right. All the best. Take care then. Cheers then. Bye now.
Hey, if you got lost in the woods, what would you do?
I wouldn't get lost.
We're gonna get